Hi, and welcome again. This is Aluchi from the Kali Cauldron. And today I'll be doing a little bit of a part two to my review of Story of Pearl Girl. And this time around, we'll be talking about female aggression. I get it. We're calling for more peace in the world, and there should be more peace in the world, and we should actively fight for more peace in the world and encourage peace in the world. But watching Story of Pearl Girl, there was just something in me. It wasn't just something in me. Story of the Pearl Girl triggered this video that I'm doing right now because it was one of the Chinese dramas that I watched late last year where the women were fighting for other things other than men. They were fighting for, their place in society. They were fighting to have their business, to keep their business going. Even the dancers in Story of Pearl Girl were fighting for their livelihood because becoming the most popular girl meant that they had that power to line their pockets and feed themselves and also maintain relevance. So, in a way, sometimes they were fighting for attention, but they weren't fighting. It wasn't like all those concubine movies or all those like really girl on girl fights that existed solely for the attention of men. Funny how serendipity works. I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw something that someone posted and they asked, we need more healthy displays of feminine aggression or female aggression or whatever, something like that. And then I started thinking, there are certain things that I feel that us women do not discuss enough, both openly and privately, even though they can be part of our daily lives. And when they're discussed, not many give them the nuance they deserve. And aggression is one of those things. There are people that actually give them the nuance they deserve, but it's not many people that do that. And the word aggression has been used to, at least here in America and in some other parts of the world, to strip, like to try, because they can't do it, but to try to strip black women of their femininity, even though asserting yourself and protecting yourself and defending yourself are not only feminine qualities, but human qualities as well. So, are you saying to be feminine, we should not be human? Um, like I said before, this is a topic that doesn't get the nuance it deserves. And I'm not gonna say that I'm gonna give it all the nuance it deserves, but I will try. Most women are either encouraged to take the high road all the time or to be extremely petty all the time. And the fine print, the gag is that both roads, if followed every time, every single time, can lead to the detriment of that person that is always following them every single time. From what I know from being a woman and also observing other women and experiencing womanhood, women are very communal, very community oriented. We're not, in as individualistic as men, even though right now we live in a society where hyper individualism is encouraged and not enough space is made for community. You have to actually intentionally create a community for yourself. So there is something to that. But from what I have seen growing up and even in my life, women were community oriented and communal. So naturally, the way we express aggression is almost very covert, not as overt as men. Because sometimes when expressing aggression as a woman, you also have to take into account the community you have and how to express that, but not leave yourself at the outskirts of that community. Covert aggression is not the only type of aggression that women display. we also display physical aggression, like, and this started from girlhood. You know, those people that will wait for you after school to jump you, whether you intentionally or unintentionally set them off, or maybe gossiped about them, whatever it was. So women will get in your face, and there is no. It's almost like right now, even in the media, with reality TV and the rise of trash TV shows, there is this thing where outward physical violence with women, throwing drawings, slapping people, it's encouraged and it's incentivized on reality TV. So that is beginning to bleed over in real life. It was already in real life. Women already fought each other in real life, but there is almost this thing where it's incentivized, and it's now more on the uptick than it was before. While this is true, it is also true that
A show of outward, noticeable aggression from women is mainly tolerated in by other women and even men in sports. It is either highly praised or highly shunned when it is over a man. It's either highly praised, like get that girl, or it's like highly shunned. I can't believe she would do that over a man. Whether it's over a man or attention, or attention of people, especially where whenever you involve beauty or vagina politics, or whose Maserati is Maserati. But there are many other times where women face aggression from men, from fellow women, from a system, from an organization, from family, etc., etc. In the one of the places where it tends to show up and show out, like, is in the workplace.
I say the workplace because that is one of the places where, while women might, in some cases, fight for male attention, it's not always that. It's not always the case in the workplace. Sometimes women are fighting for attention, for, who's the most beautiful, maybe if you're a model or something like that. Or even in the workplace, yeah, women can fight for beauty, politics, and all that. But then there are other things attached to it. There is, having a livelihood. There is recognition for your work. There is, um, clicking up in the workplace. Does your manager like you? Do the people you work with like you? There are other things at play in the workplace, which is why I feel like the workplace is one of the places to see the full range of display of feminine aggression if you're looking.
But when it comes to, again, let me lay some ground rules. Number one, this is not advice. This is just observation, and this is something that I am still learning. So I'm not gonna tell you, oh yeah, this is what you need to do, and this, and 10 steps to this. No. This is an observation, and this is something that I'm still learning, and still observing, and still watching, and still learning how to apply in my life. And I'm not perfect in this. Number two, I'm not saying go and be aggressive to people. Like, if you're crazy, I promise you there's someone else there that is crazier than you. And you have to pray that you never meet that person. And one of the ways to make sure that you never meet that person is to not be the one to throw the first punch. Like, leave people alone, mind your business, like people mind their business. That is one of the modus operandi, I guess. But when I talk about this aggression, I'm mainly looking at it from, how it's done to people and how you can defend yourself or fight back or assert yourself against these other factors in many different scenarios. And you realize how much nuance is required in your approach and how you have to tailor your move to the particular scenario.
Now, as an adult woman, you start to learn that certain actions that might have worked in the past, maybe in the company of just women, now you're in mixed company. Or now you're in a company, still in a company of women, but now you're outside. Now, the things that matter are your livelihood, your freedom, because you might get in the wrong person's face and get killed, Or you might do something and go to jail. You might lose your job, you might lose your equity, whatever it is, like you start to see that you're now in a different situation. And not all the ways that we learned how to be aggressive as young girls into womanhood, not all of them are bad. Sometimes you have to reach into those things that you learned and assert yourself that way. For example, there are times when if people want to spread news in the office, they let things slip in front of the office gossip. It's not by design, it's not by mistake. Sometimes it's by design because they need that wind, aka the office gossip, to carry things around. Number two, another thing you have to watch out for is learning how to assert yourself logically sometimes, and also controlling your emotions. If you're always seeing red all the time, if you're always going through something, maybe before you lose your cool, maybe you need to step outside, calm yourself down, go into the bathroom and maybe crash out inside the bathroom. And then you come out and your cool, come collected before you address whatever issue is going on. You know, it might not be a good idea to call Martha in the next cubicle a cow, whether she looks like a cow or not. So, controlling your emotions, controlling yourself, also looking at what strengths you have, because sometimes your strength might be a gift of the gab. It might be acting logically. Maybe you've learned how to act logically in your life. Maybe you've learned how to write an email, incorporate speak. Those things are strengths. So before you crash out, sometimes you can ask yourself, what strengths do I have that will apply and to this situation and dead this situation, or ensure that I am the winner and I come out on top. Sometimes your strength might be that you have perfected the art of the stiff upper lip, you know? Those things, reach into your bag and see what strengths you have that don't involve crashing out or getting in people's faces or fighting them physically or saying something that might get you your freedom taken away or get your job taken away from you. If that is not what you're gaining gunning for, you know?
Sometimes you have to cry more than the office crier. Like before you confront them, if you already know that they have a pattern of crying and shifting the blame, you start dripping tears before you even reach their cubicle or whatever it is. You start bawling, and then when you get there, you know sometimes you have to send a lawyer. Sometimes you have to, if you have like allies and people that can stand with you in a particular situation, sometimes you have to, hey guys, yes, I'm fighting for this, but I can't fight alone. Can you come and stand by me? Like maybe think of using it as a job reference. Let's say your business is in trouble by a competitor, and you want to show that, oh yeah, I always do, hand out good services and good goods. Who will you rely on? Your customers. Exactly. So that is what I mean by this. And then there are times where you go into private and just feel your emotions and then respond with logic. And then, there are times where you have to remove yourself from the situation, pay dust, use silence, don't involve yourself in it. And then there are times you have to respond with subtlety and wit. But one of the things that I would like to talk about is, and one of the things I'm learning and observing is learning how to protect yourself as a woman. Like we, because of all the feminism and all the things, they sometimes it can have that fine print of everybody is cis, where everybody is not cis. Even the people that look like you, even the people that are your height, even the people that have green eyes like you, sometimes some people have to be around. So one of them is learning who's who and how to protect yourself. That is also something I'm learning. Like all the oversharing and shooting off the mouth where you don't know who has it out for you. I'm not saying climb up like a clam, no, but try to suss things out first before you just open yourself like that. And also, Addressing that thing as that the thing about feminism, people like to always say, like, when women are fighting or something, they don't really look at the issue. And I see this especially from men and some women that just want to just cover things on the surface. But sometimes when women are fighting, you hear things like, oh, look at the feminists are fighting. One of the things that feminism has afforded women is the right to be full human beings. And what do full human beings do sometimes? They beef with each other, they fight with each other, they, whatever. But one thing I would like for women to see is, yes, you can fight with whatever, but when it's time to get that 3% raise or whatever, you guys can band together and get that 3% raise and then go back to your fighting or whatever. Like, whenever it comes to collective work, you can drop your beef and collectively work. And then when you're done doing that, then you can go back to fighting each other. Like, we're not supposed to be all friends. One of the things that feminism has afforded us the right to do is the right to be full human beings. And that includes, sometimes not agreeing, sometimes fighting, sometimes making peace. That includes all of that. And so I'd like to, put that disclaimer out there for the people in the back. But one time I was scrolling through TikTok and one of these coaches was complaining about how some lawyer that was women's rights, who, copied all her stuff and posted it on LinkedIn or somewhere and passed it off as her own. Like, women sometimes go through this, and sometimes, unfortunately, if the woman that's doing this to you is someone that maybe is the champion of women's rights in your office, or is some kind of champion. Like, you see this with like some movements, like, when it comes to Black lives or Asian lives or whatever, when someone is maybe advancing the community but is engaging in predatory behavior or something, there's always this thing of, let's cover him up, let's cover her up, let's not expose her, let's look the other way because they're doing this for us. But if you're the woman, and if you're the woman that's getting these things done to you, it's hard for resentment not to brew, and it's hard to just, sometimes it can just destroy you, really. But that's also something that, whenever men see women fighting, even, it's always like brushed off or something, instead of just like, okay, let's get to the root of this, what exactly is going on. And sometimes, but it's always brushed off as, oh yeah, look at the feminists, they are now fighting each other. I told you, it's not the, no, let's not do that in 2025. But anyways, like I said, a lot of women's violence is, or aggression towards each other, is very covert. It's meant to, like, psychologically, like, torment you, or in some cases damage you. Like,
This is why in TV shows or movies, many of the male villains we find interesting are sometimes imbued with stereotypical covert female aggression. And it's not that men don't display this, it's just that we always expect this from women. So when a male villain is interesting, it's not always all the time, but sometimes look for qualities of the way women fight. Look for those qualities in him, and you might just see them.
so sometimes when women come into the workplace, or in places where they now have to deal with, not just in the workplace, in other places where they have to deal with other things, they can struggle. um One of that is, like the office crier, the girl that just starts crying and turns her victim mode up. And if you're someone that maybe if people already see you as aggressive or something, or let's say you're a new person coming into that, people will either see it as, oh, she already came in and she already did this, instead of seeing it as, oh, maybe this person is doing something. Or people can now see it the other way, where they now label you as the attack dog of the group, where it's like, oh, well, some will get them or something. So there is definitely that facet to it. Another thing women can do is, which is funny, like, like maybe when some girl does something online that people don't like, what do? They dox her. They go and find, God forbid, she was she took naked pictures of herself. Sometimes they go and find it, or they find a picture of her, when she was ugly or fat or whatever, and like post it online. And it's so funny because it's like, and another facet to that is men that feel, they were dating people and maybe the relationship didn't work out and they're like really vexed. The funny thing is that they fall back on this mode of aggression from women, this thing of doxing that girl, or like sharing intimate pictures or intimate videos of the woman that they were in a relationship with, in an effort to shame her, in an effort to just like psychologically degrade her or degrade her in the eyes of society or whatever. But that things like this is not, that's not the only thing, but things like this, things like crying, playing victim, like very under the covers, like sharing pictures of that girl, like spreading rumors, like a lot of those are they're like the kind of aggression that women engage in. But it's so funny, like when you use that kind of aggression against a man, and maybe you share videos of him, and now he becomes the cosmopolitan man of the day or whatever, the hottest man, because it's like it's reverse. Men would just see him as, oh my goodness, and let it be that maybe he was doing some kind of feat that men deem very, I don't know, hard to do. He becomes the champion of men the next day. So when you're fighting a man and you use that tactic that you normally use on a woman, it's not gonna work. For many men, it won't work. For some men, it might shame them or shame their wives or their families. But mainly, it won't. Like, mainly, it's not. It won't work. When you're fighting, maybe somebody, you go and expose her pictures of when she was fat and ugly. Maybe now she's a supermodel and your jealousy or whatever has driven you to go and expose those pictures. And maybe this woman has already made peace with how she used to look. She's no longer bothered by it, no longer threatened by it. One of the things she could do is just find the right channels, get a TED talk about how beauty is still the ultimate and how she used to look like your left toe, and now look at her. So if you're gonna, try to do violence like that, it's against someone that what you're shaming them for is not something that they're really ashamed about. It's not gonna work. When you do this thing where you find a bunch of other girls to attack another girl. If it's a girl that maybe for some reason she's used to fighting alone and fighting people off by herself, it's not really gonna bother her. So, anyways, those are just some examples. It's not all, but those are just some examples of some of the aggressions that women partake in. But then there are other women that I would like to give examples. One of them is in pop culture, I'll say, is the Wagatha Christie case that happened in the UK between the Wags, Colleen Rooney's wife, and I can't remember the other woman's name. But one of them, I think the other woman, anyway, go read the case for yourself. But essentially, it was something about gossiping, spreading rumors, and then the other party took it to court. And then the other party decided to fight back with the lawyers. And then it became like a fight to, fight to the end kind of situation. And I think finally the judge awarded victory to Colleen Rooney. But it was a Pyrrhic victory. But I think the point wasn't really to win the point was more to prove a point. But sometimes some women will try to do something and then they forget that for every crazy person, there's another crazier person. And you hope that you don't run across the crazier person. And then they get surprised when the woman they're threatening is now fighting them to the end. They get surprised. But go read the case for yourself. Another one is the famous one between Candace Owens and Cardib. Like, some people were saying, oh, it's not fair. It's not, Candace should fight her intellectual equal or what. That was not the point. The point was to defend herself, which she did wonderfully. I would also like to touch on Like whenever we think of, female aggression, uh one of the things that spurred this video really was thinking about Wang Churan's character, who plays Liu Mantang in Are You the One, is a Chinese drama that aired in 2024. But she was trying to get herself led into this trade guild, and they wouldn't let her in because she was a woman. And one of the things she did was, it was subtle, but if that's not aggression, then what is? But one of the things she did was she went and bought a piece of land, and that piece of land was at a critical area where that the traders had to pass through. And I think they were having maritime problems at that time. So traders had, and it was also quicker with the land. So traders that wanted to pass through that land couldn't pass through it because she bought the land and she refused to let them pass through until they let her in the trade guild. If that's not aggression, I don't know what is. Another one is Chinlan's character as Guan in Stand Up For, another Chinese drama. I think this was either 2022 or 2023. I can't remember. But one of the things she did was, when she became a supervisor or a manager, I think, at one company, she was new to that company. There was already like these two women that kind of took over the role before she came there. They weren't like actual supervisors, they were just like a figurehead, and they encouraged all sorts of bullshit there. So, one thing, even though it's, you know, these women, it was their livelihood or whatever, but one thing she did was she specifically set traps. So, she would call a meeting. Other people will come late because those women came late because they were like the ringleaders. So I think she did the meeting thing like 3 times. And then after the third time, when she already had enough of built up evidence to fire them, at the fourth meeting, they didn't come in, they were let go. And what happened? The other team fell in line. But aside from that, she also did other things like, she was really good at her job, and she treated those people with the remaining members of the team with kindness. She didn't just go in like iron fist, like ha ha ha. No. But and also she was someone that was already viewed as aggressive and this. So coming to that company, she had to try to like soften her ways but still get what she wanted. But so when I think of Chinese dramas, the most recent, sometimes you have to do the same thing the people do. The most recent was Flourished Peony. Mudan's character, Yangzi's character Mudan, when she saw that there was this man that was an opposing person that went and invited like a monk or whatever, a shaman, to say that Yangtze had evil spirits, and then people that were watching her shop decided that they were not going to shop from her again. So what did she do? She knew that trying to convince the people, do everything, is not going to work. So what did she do? She did the optics thing. She went again and invited another shaman, and then the shaman prayed and said that the evil spirit was now gone, and did other things that made the people now want to patronize her shop. Like it's one of the things that when, as you get into, whether you're being a business owner, whether you're being a like a, what do you call it, like in the workplace, whether like even amongst family, like diversifying the way you show aggression and the way, because when you keep doing one thing, it quickly becomes tired. And what if you meet people that brand of aggression doesn't work on? What are you gonna do? Sit there and cry? Like, so that's something that I've been observing. Oh, speaking of the optics of it, I would like to talk about, when showing no aggression and just laying back can be the best tactic. Now, and I think of Serena Williams and Naomi Osaka. One of the match where Naomi Osaka beat Serena Williams. I don't know these two women. I don't know what's going on in their head. I'm not gonna pretend like I know them, and I don't know if Serena did it as a strategic move or at the spur of the moment. I don't know. But the result of that is sometimes a sore thumb that sticks out, or a saw nail that sticks out, gets hammered down. And sometimes the people that spearhead certain movements are not the ones that reap the results. And yeah, while it's always common for people to be like, oh, black women lead the way, blah, 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 I like the thing, what Serena did at that moment. I think it was, the media and I think it was the umpire. I can't remember who it was, but that made her angry. But Naomi Osaka won it, but it became this thing of everybody like criticizing Serena that she took spotlight away from the winner, and then somehow the emotions of the moment, everything, Naomi crying and all of that. I'm not saying Naomi was playing victim or whatever. No, I'm just saying narrating what happened that day. But if it was someone like Djokovic or whoever, whatever man, they can quickly like be angry and smash their racket and leave the field. And they might not be angry at whoever won. They might just be angry at that umpire and like smash their racket, leave the field. People would just make like a couple of headlines here or there. Djokovic angrily smashes racket and it will end. But if Serena had done that same thing, like not come back and embrace Naomi and, this girl that used to look up to her and whatever. Like, you have seen like some male competitors that are like, maybe they see their opponent and he's a guy that used to look up to them, and maybe something happened that match that day. They're not going to comfort that guy. They're going to take care of themselves first and leave. So I like the way Serena handled that, but it's so funny thinking about that and thinking of the recent Olympics where the Chinese lady, I can't remember her name, said she wasn't here to make friends and she was praised. If Serena had said that a couple years ago, whoo, she would be a Jezebel and whatever, whatever, whatever. But it just goes to show you that sometimes, even with aggression, you have to think of how people see you. You have to think of the optics. And you also have to think of, remember, women are community oriented. And there are some things that you would do within the community. Yes, not a lot of people are gonna come out and admit it, but people will now start looking at you like, wow, she did that to this person. What is she gonna do to me? So sometimes you also have to respond, yes, with whatever you want to do, but also put some optics behind it. But anyways, that's my video. Thinking of Story of a Pearl Girl, I was like, you know what? This show was so violent. It was time to talk about feminine aggression or women aggression or whatever you want to call it. So if you have any thoughts, please let me know down in the comments. And as usual, I am so thankful that you watched this video, and I am so happy to be back again. Thank you.